Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Gaza ceasefire to take effect from 6:30 GMT on Sunday. 33 Israeli hostages to be swapped for 737 Palestinian prisoners in the first phase. Two judges of Iran's Supreme Court are shot dead outside the court. The assailant kills himself. The motive remains unclear. Time runs out on Tik Tok in the United States as Biden leaves the decision to revoke a ban on it to Trump. The ban takes effect a day before Trump takes office. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi distributes 6.5 million property cards under Swamitva scheme to rural households, strengthening the rural economy. Israel's cabinet on Saturday approved a deal with the Palestinian group Hamas for a ceasefire and release of hostages in the Gaza Strip. The decision came after a meeting of more than 6 hours. The agreement could pave the way for an end to the 15-month-old war in the Palestinian enclave, which Hamas controls. Meanwhile, Israel is keeping up its strikes on Gaza even after the ceasefire deal was announced. It has been receiving threats as well. Let's look at this report.
People on a beach promenade in Tel Aviv take shelter as sirens blared across central Israel and Jerusalem on Saturday morning. Palestinians in Khan Yunis mourn a family killed by an Israeli strike on Gaza on Saturday. Both these incidents just a day before a ceasefire deal takes effect. The Israeli government officially approved the ceasefire agreement on Saturday, following a lengthy meeting of all cabinet members. 24 ministers voted in favor and 8 opposed the deal. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office confirmed that Israeli detainees can be released as planned on Sunday. That means that the ceasefire agreement will officially take effect on Sunday. The three-stage ceasefire begins with a 6-week phase. Hamas releases 33 Israeli hostages in exchange for 737 Palestinian prisoners. Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza, allowing aid and displaced Palestinians to return home. Negotiations for the second phase start on day 16, aiming for a permanent ceasefire and complete Israeli withdrawal by releasing more prisoners. The final phase focuses on Gaza's reconstruction and the returning of hostages' bodies, expected to take years with international support.
Oh, I'm glad that this is the beginning of the end, and hopefully maximum amount of hostages will be coming back, because that's like the most important thing right now. And maybe this is the beginning of end of suffering for both sides, hopefully. That's what I hope.
We're waiting for the hostages to come. It's unbelievable that they had to be there for so long. Hopefully most of them will come alive, but this is the most important thing too. That should happen. They should be here as soon as possible.
The Al-Quds Brigade of Islamic Jihad, a group that holds Israeli hostages, has sent out a warning to Israel after the Khan Yunis attacks. They said Israeli military should stop intensified strikes in the final hours before the ceasefire takes effect, as this would be reason for killing the hostages. It's a complex and multi-step process aimed at bringing lasting peace to the region. Bureau Report, DD India.
The leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah group, Naim Qasim, has accused Israel of committing hundreds of ceasefire violations on Saturday, warning against testing their patience. His remarks came during a visit by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to Lebanon. The fragile truce, which had begun on November 27, 2024, has been marred, in fact, by mutual accusations of violations from both sides.
We have been patient with the violations to give a chance to the Lebanese state responsible for this agreement, along with the international sponsors, but I call on you not to test our patience, and I call on the Lebanese state to be firm in the face of the ceasefire violations, which have exceeded the hundreds.
In Iran, 2 judges have been killed in a shooting attack on Saturday outside the Supreme Court building in Tehran. A gunman infiltrated the Supreme Court in a planned act of assassination of the 2 judges. The judiciary's Mizan online website reported that the 2 judges were martyred in this act. Mizan also said that the assailant killed himself after the shootings. Now, the motive behind their killing was not immediately clear, and Mizan has said that the assailant was not involved in any cases before the Supreme Court, and they didn't provide any further details on the attacker's identity in this bizarre incident. A Russian strike killed 4 people in the Ukrainian capital Kiev, while in Zaporizhzhia, a Russian missile attack on Saturday left 10 people wounded. That attack damaged the southeastern city's St. Andrew's Cathedral. Fuzail Ahmed reports.
Kyiv city authorities began clearing the mangled remains of cars destroyed by Russian strikes, with more than 1,000 burnt out and abandoned vehicles littering the streets in Ukraine's capital. The head of the Ukrainian capital's military administration said that 4 people were killed and 3 others injured on Saturday in the center of Kyiv in a nighttime Russian attack. While in Zaporizhzhia, Russian missiles attack on Saturday left 10 people injured and damaged the southern city's St. Andrew's Cathedral as well as an industrial facility.
The missile attack took place around 6 in the morning. We have a man that guards the church. Thank God he is not hurt. He says he felt something coming and went into another room. He is safe.
The Ukrainian military said it had destroyed 24 of 39 drones and 2 of 4 missiles launched by Russia across various parts of Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky discussed energy security with Slovakia's opposition leader in Kyiv on Friday amid a row with Slovakian President Robert Fico, who was threatened to cut aid to Ukraine.
We are ready to help Slovak people with energy stability and of course security, but for us it's very important to hear the signals from Slovak nation that you will also support Ukrainian people on our way to EU and NATO.
Let me say on behalf of so many in Slovakia who support Ukraine, that we thank you, the troops and Ukrainians for their bravery, for their heroism, for their sacrifice, because we know in Slovakia that it's not just about freedom, sovereignty and security of Ukraine, but also Europe as a whole and also Slovakia.
Russian gas flows to Europe via Ukraine ended at the start of the year after the transit agreement between Kyiv and Moscow expired. Kyiv refused to extend the deal to reduce revenue streams supporting Russia's war in Ukraine. Fuzail Ahmed's report for DD India.
Tik Tok is facing a ban in the United States unless its China-based parent company ByteDance sells its U.S. operations by January 19, 2025. The ban is due to national security concerns. The company will shut down in the U.S. on Sunday unless there's a resolution to this problem. But the situation seems to be evolving because the President-elect Donald Trump, who is set to return to office on January 20, has indicated he is going to intervene. Mihir Makuri helps clarify the Tik Tok clock.
In a dramatic dramatic turn of events, the popular video sharing platform TikTok has warned it may be forced to go dark in the US on Sunday unless the government intervenes. The threat follows the US Supreme Court's decision to uphold a law that would ban TikTok, citing national security concerns unless its China-based parent company, ByteDance, sells the platform by Sunday. President-elect Trump, who will take office as US President on 20th of January, discussed TikTok with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Friday and stated that he would need more time to find a solution. TikTok has received praise from Trump for connecting him with younger voters and helping secure his election victory. Despite facing imminent restrictions, TikTok has lobbied hard to prevent the ban, with CEO Shou Zi-chew set to attend Trump's inauguration on Monday. Meanwhile, the company has thanked Trump for his commitment to work with TikTok.
On behalf of everyone at TikTok and all our users across the country, I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States. We are grateful and pleased to have the support of a president who truly understands our platform.
The threat TikTok.
The law passed last April mandates that Apple and Google remove TikTok from their app stores, halting new downloads. Companies could face hefty fines up to $5,000 per user who still has access to the app. Even Oracle, TikTok's server host, would be legally bound to enforce the ban. As the deadline approaches, anxiety is mounting among TikTok content creators who are worried about the platform's future.
I'm very upset, sad, angry, many emotions, and it's going to affect me tremendously. I mean, this is my main platform is TikTok. I have other platforms that I monetize, but nothing monetizes quite like TikTok.
I've put a lot of years and effort into this, which is, kind of a bummer that you spend this much time on something and then it's just taken away from you. I do get brand deals and I do reach just so many potential clients for my DJ business.
Despite growing uncertainty, some analysts believe President-elect Donald Trump could issue a 90-day extension, giving TikTok more time to reach a sale agreement.
So the president can issue a 90-day extension, giving the company 90 more days to sell itself, if the company has shown that it has actually got essentially a term sheet for a sale, a kind of proto-agreement with another buyer. And so that seems unlikely at this moment that there would be any kind of agreement for sale.
As tensions rise, the fate of TikTok in the United States hangs in the balance. What happens next will not only shape the future of the platform, but also broader landscape of digital media in America. Mihir Makuri's report for DD India.
India on Saturday sent humanitarian assistance to the Central African nation of Sao Tome and Principe, reaffirming its commitment to the Global South. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, the assistance comprises medical supplies, including life-saving essential medicines like insulin and blood glucose monitors, and strips, human albumin and ORS. The Ministry of External Affairs stated on X that this assistance will help strengthen the public health services of Sao Tome and Principe. India's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, kicked off his Brussels visit with a warm meeting with the EU Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Marcos Šefčovič. The leaders exchanged views on bilateral issues, including trade ties and also the India-EU Free Trade Agreement. Still to come here on DD India NewsHour. A Kolkata court pronounces the accused Sanjay Roy guilty in the RG Kar doctor rape murder case. Amid clashes and protests, impeached South Korean President Yoon fights for freedom in a tense court showdown.
Timeless, boundless and infinite. The essence of faith. The soul of Sanatan culture. From the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic. World's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Mahakumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lin. Amid protests, South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol attended a court hearing on Saturday to challenge his extended detention over insurrection charges. Thousands of supporters clashed with the police outside the court. The hearing at Seoul Western District Court, it lasted nearly 5 hours, with Yoon speaking for about 40 minutes. In the court, and if the court approves his continued detention, it could potentially lead to a life sentence or even execution. Rabindra Chauhan reports.
Amid massive protests supporting his impeachment, South Korea's President Yoon Suk Yeol attended a court hearing on Saturday to challenge investigators' request for an extended detention on insurrection charges. The hearing at a Seoul Western District Court lasted nearly 5 hours, with Yoon speaking about 40 minutes.
Yoon sincerely explained and answered questions on factual relationships, evidence and legal principles. There's nothing much we can say for now today. We will wait for the court to decide. Of course, we expect good results from our point of view.
Yoon became the country's first sitting president who was detained in a dawn raid on Wednesday in a criminal probe on insurrection charges after he refused investigators' summon and remained defiant in his residence. Thousands of Yoon's supporters rallied outside the court and clashed with police on Saturday. The crowds gathered, waving flags and holding "Release the President" placards. 16 protesters were arrested for attempting to force their way into the courthouse.
President Yoon Suk Yeol is attending a warrant review to protect the rule of law, even if it is an illegal investigation. There are so many supporters of President Yoon around the court that still believe in the rule of law and defend the president.
If the court rules against Yoon, he will lose the presidency and elections will be held within 60 days. If court approves his continued detention, prosecutors can formalize an insurrection indictment, potentially leading to a life sentence or execution. Yoon could remain detained for up to 6 months during the trial. Rabin Chauhan's report for DD India.
A local court in Kolkata has found Sanjay Roy, a former civic volunteer, guilty of rape and murder of a trainee doctor at the state-run RG Car Hospital. He will be sentenced on Monday, bringing closure to the brutal incident that had shaken the nation last year. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay reports.
The case, which unfolded within the walls of Kolkata's RG Kar Medical College and Hospital and left the entire nation in shock and horror. On Saturday, a sessions court in Kolkata declared Sanjay Roy, a former civic volunteer, guilty of raping and murdering a trainee doctor at the state-run hospital. The Sialda court, where Roy's trial was held, will declare his sentence on Monday.
कोर्ट ने सब कुछ देख के जो अच्छा सजा जो देना है वो दे देंगे.
The judgment was pronounced nearly 2 months after the in-camera trial commenced in November last year and 162 days after the heinous crime was committed on August 9, 2024. a 31-year-old postgraduate trainee doctor at RG Hospital was brutally raped and murdered. It sparked a nationwide uproar. Doctors from across the nation hit the streets in protest, holding vigils and demanding swift justice in the case. Sanjay Roy was found guilty under Section 64 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which governs rape, and Section 66 and 103(1) of the Act, which deals with punishments for death and murder. Section 103(1) of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita entails a possible punishment of death or life imprisonment. The judge stated that the accused was found guilty of sexually assaulting the doctor and strangling her to death, and that the CBI had proven all the charges against him. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar delivered the 19th Nani Palkiwala Memorial Lecture in Mumbai, in the Indian state of Maharashtra. Jaishankar talked about various aspects of India's Act East policy. He said that the emergence of multipolar Asia, in fact, is a prerequisite for a multipolar world.
That the emergence of a multipolar Asia is an essential prerequisite for a multipolar world. For India, this engagement is a logical extrapolation of its Act East policy that initially focused on the ASEAN. It also reflects a deeper engagement with Japan and with Australia, two fellow members of the Quad mechanism, as also with South Korea.
Well, the minister also spoke about the deeper ties that India and Russia share since decades.
As a major power of the Eurasian landmass, Russia has long held importance for India's foreign policy. Despite all the ups and downs that the world has seen since 1945, this is actually one relationship that has largely held steady. For decades, Russia has had a salience in India's national security calculus. Currently, as Russia is redirecting its attention towards Asia, there is actually a further logic that is emerging. Deeper economic cooperation between India and Russia has a stabilizing consequence for the global economy. The connectivity potential of the collaboration also holds great promise. India's expanding footprint will inevitably meet Russia's influence in many regions.
The External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar, also discussed India's relationships with its neighboring countries, emphasizing that ties with Pakistan remain strained because of Pakistan's support for cross-border terrorism. Jaishankar said this cancer of terrorism is now consuming Pakistan's political landscape. He said Pakistan remains the exception in India's neighborhood in view of its support for cross-border terrorism, and that cancer is now consuming its own body politic. Our next story, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi distributed 6.5 million property cards to property owners via video conference. The cards were distributed under the Swamitya scheme to property owners in over 50,000 villages across 10 states and 2 union territories. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister termed this day as historic for the rural economy. He said that over 2 crore 25 lakh property documents have been issued in the last 5 years since the implementation of the Swamitya scheme. The scheme was launched by the Prime Minister with a vision to enhance the economic progress of rural India, and it includes providing a record of rights to households owning houses in inhabited areas in villages via drone technology for surveying. And in his address, the Prime Minister also hailed the property cards as a security for the beneficiaries.
कानूनी दस्तावेज मिलने के बाद लाखों लोगों ने अपने घर, अपनी संपत्ति के आधार पर बैंकों से लोन लिया है। इस पैसे से उन्होंने गांव में अपना छोटा मोटा व्यापार शुरू किया है। इनमें से बहुत सारे छोटे और मझोले किसान परिवार है, इनके लिए ये प्रॉपर्टी कार्ड आर्थिक सुरक्षा की बड़ी गारंटी बन चुके हैं। अवैध कब्जों से, कोर्ट में लंबे विवादों से हमारे दलित, पिछड़े और आदिवासी परिवार ही सबसे अधिक परेशान थे, उससे वही प्रभावित थे। अब कानूनी प्रमाण मिलने से उनको इस संकट से मुक्ति मिल रही है।
India's Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav on Saturday reviewed the progress of the 21-kilometer long underground undersea tunnel, which is part of India's first bullet train project near Thane city. This tunnel is under construction between the Mumbai bullet train station at the Bandra Kurla complex and the Shilphata in the state of Maharashtra. The minister, he stated that work on this national high-speed rail project is progressing well. He said that cities such as Mumbai, Thane, Surat and Ahmedabad will experience a boost in economic activity once the bullet train project is completed.
The Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed train, the bullet train work is in progress, and right now I'm standing at one of the important place here. This is the underground tunnel of the bullet train, which is around 21 kilometers. This tunnel basically starts from the border of Mumbai, that is near the Thane district, and it ends at the Bandra Kurla complex, Mumbai. The stretch of this entire tunnel is almost 21 kilometers. But the most important fact is that nearly 6 kilometers of this tunnel will go under sea. And that's the reason it makes quite important one. Well, in this tunnel you can see that 2 bullet trains can run simultaneously at the speed of 250 kilometers. You can imagine how much precision is required to make such kind of engineering marvel. Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav today inspected this tunnel and he stated that the work of this tunnel is right now going on at the fast pace and it will be completed within stipulated time frame. But the most important factor of this entire engineering marvel is of course this tunnel, which is actually almost 21 kilometers, and this is underground. But it's not just underground. Some of the portion of this tunnel goes under sea near Thane and Mumbai.
टनल का कंस्ट्रक्शन अच्छी पेस पे चल रहा है और ओवरऑल मुंबई अहमदाबाद हाई स्पीड रेल में करीब 340 किलोमीटर का काम ऑलरेडी बहुत अच्छी प्रोग्रेस पे है। जितनी नदियां हैं उन नदियों के ऊपर ब्रिज बहुत अच्छी प्रोग्रेस में है।
And this particular place where I'm standing right now is one of the crucial aspect and one of the crucial place in the National High Speed Rail Corporation of the bullet train, where the tunnel is already started here, and probably next few months we may see the completion of this work and the bullet will start between Mumbai and Ahmedabad. Truce for DDI India, Mumbai.
India's Minister of Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, attended the closing plenary session of the PIWOT at the Sun event at IIT alumni in Mumbai. Ashwini Vaishnav said that the global landscape will change and that India will play a major role. The minister lauded IIT. He said that it has created a brand for themselves in the world.
IITians have created such a big brand in the world, recognized for talent, recognized for good hard work, recognized for solving real complex problems. It was a pleasure to be part of the Pan IIT Pivot Conference this year.
Still to come here on DD India NewsHour. Can the ceasefire bring lasting peace to Gaza, or is this just a temporary pause in the ongoing conflict? We'll get expert opinion. India's Ministry of Mines partners with Odisha to showcase sustainable development at Konark's District Mineral Foundation exhibition. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn, and we are joined now by Lieutenant General Saeed Atta Hasnain, retired. He's a strategic and security expert, and we're going to talk about whether the ceasefire is going to last in Gaza. Thank you very much, General Hasnain. What do you think were the key factors that led to this ceasefire agreement in the first place after such a long, prolonged conflict?
Mark, thank you first of all for inviting me for this program. A very important decision is being taken. The ceasefire will start tomorrow from 6:30 onwards at the GMT time. As to the question as to what really finally brought it about, this has been under negotiation for fairly long. And I think a degree of exhaustion has been reached. The Biden administration obviously was very, very keen to ensure that even while it was in power, at least in terms of the record, the ceasefire would be a part of their deal, not the deal of the Trump administration, although it has been completely in consonance in discussion with the incoming Trump administration at the moment. But I think the clinching issue was the level of destruction, the exhaustion, and the reputation of Israel, which was receiving an international dent at all times. Okay. And I think that is what has finally brought it about, because internal pressures within Israel were also building, as we are aware. Out of the 250 hostages, 99 to 100 hostages are still very much in the hands of Hamas. And that kind of a pressure in a country like Israel is fairly intense.
Indeed. Do you see potential challenges, General Hasnain, associated with the prisoner swap, this prisoner and the hostage exchange process?
Well, considering the fact, Mark, that there is a huge trust deficit. After October the 7th, there was a time when Israel was actually, sort of projecting Hamas against the Palestinian Authority, against Yasser Arafat's old organizations and things like that. But after the 7th of October, when they were completely let down and you had this heinous terrorist act leading to 1,200 dead, 250 hostages taken, Israel opened itself up and carried out the kind of bombardment over the last 400 days. So that has obviously brought about a major trust deficit between the two sides. The Hamas actions also simultaneously responsible for it. So can that trust be repaired in 42 days of phase one, in which there's a temporary ceasefire, there is a prisoner exchange of just 33 prisoners among the hostages, and 30 prisoners of the Palestinians for each single hostage who is released, which means almost 1,000 Palestinians being released for 33 prisoners. Now, obviously, there's a lot of pressure internally on the Netanyahu government inside Israel. But if this succeeds in the first few days, the hopes will definitely start building. Phase one is the very crucial phase. If phase one goes through, I think then the trust will start building up. The second part is the humanitarian aid. 600 vehicles are waiting to enter into Gaza.
Right.
Now, once these vehicles start coming in, there's going to be very intense checks on the part of the Israeli Defense Forces, because they don't want the wherewithal, Iranian wherewithal, etc., military equipment coming in, which will refurbish the capability of the Hamas. Okay. That itself will contribute to the trust deficit. Indeed. And therefore, you can expect that there will be glitches here and there, and we'll have to be very smart to try and overcome them.
So you did mention about the humanitarian aid, and that's important. But do you see some of the restrictions on the UN agencies, for instance, being removed by Israel?
Well, the very fact that the Palestinian Authority has now been given the responsibility for the administration of the Gaza war zone as such, and Hamas is supposed to be removed completely from it, I think Israel will probably give a greater leeway to the UN humanitarian agencies. That's the only way, actually, we can start refurbishing the destruction in Gaza, ensure that at least the basic medical facilities, food and water and sanitation is restored. That is something which is leading to a major catastrophe at the moment in Gaza. I do see that there will be some leeway given, but the moment there is any breach somewhere, and breaches are bound to occur, you will find that we will have to perhaps renegotiate many times. Okay. Therefore, Qatar, Egypt, and the United States, the three countries which have sponsored the ceasefire, will have to be very sort of energetic in terms of their diplomacy to make sure that this doesn't break down anytime.
But what about the political landscape in both Israel and Gaza? Do you see Hamas being replaced? Do you see perhaps that Netanyahu will get weaker? I mean, with the Trump administration in place, do you think that maybe, there could be some sort of a change of guard?
Well, that would be something which would automatically be expected, but I don't think that's going to happen overnight anytime. Netanyahu is very well in his place at the moment, although there's a tremendous amount of opposition to the ceasefire from the far right-wing parties within Israel. Even the Israeli cabinet had major differences within them, and it's only by a very small vote that the whole resolution on the ceasefire was actually passed. But I do see that the coming of Trump and Netanyahu get along very well. I do see that the other players within the Trump administration, older players who have worked on the Abraham Accords and things like that, they are all going to be there. And I do therefore see that Netanyahu will probably carry on for some more time, as long as he can before the investigations and his corruption cases come up against him. Hamas, as far as Hamas is concerned, hugely weakened. Iran will make lots of efforts definitely to try and refurbish them, but the routes are cut off. You have access from the sea, which is under a fair amount of control of Israel. This is going to be a difficult call as far as Hamas is concerned, but Hamas still remains the main fighting element of the Palestinians. Within the Palestinian Authority, the PLO no longer occupies that kind of space. So I don't think Hamas is going anywhere. They are still going to be very much there.
Finally, how important is international support, in the reconstruction efforts once we reach there, as well as in ensuring that the ceasefire holds for the long term?
Well, first of all, I think a major assessment has to be carried out as to what is the degree of reconstruction which is required. It will probably run into a couple of $1 billion. The Arab states are all pitching in very early. I suppose lots of from the developed world, the European countries, the United States itself, all will perhaps pitch in too. But it's going to take a fair amount of time. It's an area of about 35 kilometers by 20 kilometers with almost the entire infrastructure razed to the ground. That means it's something much more than what perhaps Berlin was after World War II. So we are going to see a long haul as far as the reconstruction is concerned.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, General Atta Hasnain. Thank you for joining us and helping us understand this in depth. Now, moving on to our next story, at least 60 people were killed and others injured in northern Nigeria. This happened on Saturday when a petrol tanker truck overturned, spilling petrol and then exploded. The accident in Niger state, in fact, follows a similar blast in Jigawa state, which happened last October, that killed 147 people. One of the worst such tragedies in Africa's most populous nation. Now, Kumar Tukswan, who is the FRCS sector commander for Niger state, has said that most of the victims were impoverished local residents who had rushed to scoop up some spilt petrol after the truck had overturned. The Indira Gandhi Cultural Centre and the High Commission of India in Dhaka organized an evening of dance and music to celebrate Makar Sankranti. This happened on Saturday. The High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, Pranay Verma, inaugurated this event. Speaking on the occasion, Verma said that Makar Sankranti is a festival of festivals and it connects everyone in the region. The event started with the melodious performances of by Pranto Melody, which is a dynamic Bangladeshi band. On Saturday, the President of Singapore, Tharman Shanmugaratnam, who is on a state visit to India, visited the vaccine manufacturing plant of Bharat Biotech in the eastern state of Odisha. The president of Singapore gained first-hand experience of Odisha's growth in biotechnology. ISRO chairman Dr. V. Narayanan credited the entire team for the successful SpaceX docking. He stated that everything was systematically managed and that both satellites are now healthy. Undocking operations will begin soon after assessing all parameters. He also mentioned that under his visionary leadership, the Prime Minister's leadership that is, India's space program, including Gaganyaan, all these programs are progressing rapidly. The ISRO chief also said that this experiment helps in various programs, including Chandrayaan 4.
Honorable Prime Minister, really he's highly support you, he's a great visionary leader, and this experiment will be useful for multiple purposes. Number one, Chandrayaan 4. For Chandrayaan 4 mission, because it is a 9,200 kg satellite, so to build that we are going to take through 2 rockets. So this experiment will be useful for that. Plus to build the space station, we cannot take as a single unit, so multiple units, so it will be useful. And future human spaceflight program also, this will be useful.
Let's take a look now at other stories making the news. India's Ministry of Mines, in collaboration with the government of Odisha, has set up the District Mineral Foundation exhibition at the iconic Sun Temple in Konark. The exhibition, which is running from the 18th to the 21st of January, aims to empower mining-affected communities through sustainable development. India's Jammu and Kashmir is experiencing a spell of cold wave as the minimum temperatures there continue to hover below the freezing point. India's Met Department has cautioned tourists and travelers as well as transporters about the sub-zero temperatures and the icy conditions on roads. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar inaugurated the NIOT LTTD, that's a low-temperature thermal desalination plant. This is on the island of Chetlat in the Lakshadweep. The facility is capable of producing 1.5 lakh litres of potable water daily from seawater. 150,000 litres, that is. The budget session of India's Parliament will begin from the 31st of January. The Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will present the Union Budget on the 1st of February. The first phase of this session will run from January 31st to February 13. The second phase will take place from March 10 to April 4. Road safety awareness and a car rally were organized in Jammu and Kashmir's Srinagar on Saturday. Several participants took part in this awareness session. This initiative was aimed at promoting road safety awareness in the city of Srinagar. Okay, still to come here on DD India NewsHour. Chai Point, it brews unity in the Mahakumbh, serving 5.5 million cups per day of sustainable chai at Prayagraj. Rohit Sharma is going to lead India's 2025 Champions Trophy squad. Shubman Gill is his deputy and Yashasvi Jaiswal has made it to the team. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. Ahead of Donald Trump's presidential inauguration, US-Canada relations have become rocky. Now, Canada has announced retaliatory measures in the face of Trump's plans to slap 25% tariffs on Canadian imports. Let's look at this report.
US-Canada relations turn to get more sour as Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly announced to hit Americans with Trump tariff tax if US's incoming President Donald Trump increases custom duties on Canadian products. According to government sources, Ottawa is considering higher duties on goods from the United States, including steel products, ceramics like toilets and sinks, glassware, and orange juice, in a first phase of tariffs that could be extended. Canadian people too are angry over Trump's overtures to make Canada as 51st state of the USA. To show their displeasure, Canadians are wearing hats bearing the words "Canada is not for sale," modelled after the Make America Great Again. Liam Mooney, an entrepreneur from Ottawa, introduced this campaign. Gloomy atmosphere can be seen at American border town of Derby Line and its Canadian twin, Stansted, where people have been living in harmony for more than 2 centuries.
Well, let's take a look now at other stories making news from around the world. Swedish troops arrived in Riga's port on Saturday as part of the country's NATO deployment in Latvia. The Latvian defense minister described the event as a historic day. Sweden joined NATO in March of 2024. Migrants with CBP 1 appointees queued up at the border with the United States in the Mexican city of Ciudad Juarez. They are hoping to apply for asylum ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration. He's pledged, of course, tougher border controls and immigration enforcement. In a major setback, the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, has suspended peace talks with the leftist National Liberation Army on Friday after accusing the group of committing a war crime in the Catatumbo region. Authorities in El Salvador seized 4.3 tons of cocaine in an operation conducted in early January. Attorney General Rodolfo Delgado said that the busted drugs were valued at over $100 million. During the operation, 4 boats were seized and 9 people of Colombian and Ecuadorian origins were detained. And now, all the news from the Mahakumbh, which is the largest religious congregation in the world. When India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh took a holy dip in Sangam and performed puja on the 6th day of the Mahakumbh Mela in Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj, he took a bath amid the chanting of Vedic mantras. The Defence Minister also reviewed the security arrangements for the Mahakumbh. Well, at the Mahakumbh Mela, where millions gather in unity, Chai Point is serving over 5.5 million cups of chai, bringing people together while staying committed to sustainability. Siddharth Bharadwaj reports.
In India, chai or tea is not just a beverage, but an emotion. I'm here in front of Chai Point, and in this Mahakumbh 2025, they are brewing something special. Not just offering tea, but also a unique experience to bring people together, one sip at a time. In the heart of the world's largest human gathering, where millions of souls come together in search of spirituality and unity, one thing transcends all boundaries: the simple joy of a perfect cup of tea. And this year, Chai Point is here to be part of this historic journey at the Mahakumbh Mela. Just tell us about Chai Point, what actually it is, what concept you have come up with.
We are completely technology-led. We see ourselves as a beverage platform, which essentially means that for the last 6-7 years, we've been building chai as well as coffee machines, but fundamentally focusing on chai. And that assures the customer of a very high level of quality and consistency.
Visitors are praising Chai Point not just for the perfect cup of tea, but also for its unwavering commitment to cleanliness and hygiene.
Super nice, clean, easy to take, and just enjoy a good coffee, a very nice good coffee.
Yeah, we were driving around, and I think this is one of the relatively cleaner place. And there's a variety of like drinks and food, which is nice.
College time we used to go, and also especially in Kumbh, you're always confused about where to eat because you don't know what's clean. So it's nice to have it here because everything looks clean, everything is very organized.
I love lemon tea at Chai Point. And Chai Point has been a part of our college days also. So this is a good nostalgia.
Chai Point maintains a strong focus by responsibly sourcing ingredients and minimizing waste, ensuring that each cup of tea contributes to a healthier planet. Serving millions at the Mahakumbh, Chai Point is not just fueling the spirit with tea, it's also fostering a sustainable future. After all, India runs on chai, and so does a greener tomorrow. Chai Point at Mahakumbh Mela is a celebration of simple joy that chai or tea brings in our lives, connecting strangers, creating memories, and sparking conversations. But one sip at a time. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, this is Siddharth Bhardwaj reporting for DD India in Prayagraj.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. Let's get you the sports news now. Captain Rohit Sharma is going to lead the Indian squad at the ICC Champions Trophy 2025 with the aim to win the title for the first time since 2013. The fast bowler Jasprit Bumrah has been included in the squad. However, his participation remains contingent on his fitness. Hence, Harshit Rana has been added as a backup bowler. Mohammad Shami is going to make a comeback to the Indian ODI setup. And India's most successful bowler from 2024, Arshdeep Singh, is going to be the third frontline seamer in the squad. Shubman Gill has been appointed as the vice-captain, taking over the reins from KL Rahul. And Yashasvi Jaiswal has earned his maiden ODI call-up after a stellar performance in tests last year. Along with him, Virat Kohli, Gill, Rahul and Shreyas Iyer will share the batting responsibilities. Now, the same squad is going to be playing the 3 ODI series against England. That starts February 6. Let's get you some tennis news now. And America's Lerner Teen became the youngest man to reach the Australian Open 4th round in 20 years after beating Corentin Moutet. This happened on Saturday. The world number 121, Tien, toppled the much more experienced Moutet at the Kia Arena less than 2 months after his 19th birthday. Tien's win is in the battle of left-handers. Came 2 days, in fact, after he pulled off the upset of the tournament by beating the former US Open champion and 3 times finalist Daniil Medvedev in a 5-set thriller. The second seed Iga Swiatek has charged into the 4th round of the Australian Open in a commanding manner, beating Emma Raducanu. She won 6-1, 6-love on Saturday. Now, both the players have been former US Open champions. The Polish number 1, Swiatek, targeted Raducanu's backhand to win the last 11 games of the contest and reach the last 16 at Melbourne for the 5th time. In other matches, the 8th seed Emma Navarro joined the American charge with a 6-4, 3-6, 6-4 win over Tunisian Ons Jabeur. This happened in a topsy-turvy match. Meanwhile, in the men's category, the top seed Yannick Sinner defeated Marcos Giron by a margin of 6-3, 6-4, 6-2 in straight sets, in fact, to enter the 4th round on Saturday. That's all we have in this edition of DD India NewsHour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm